Alright guys, in this lecture, this is going to be blood bank part 2. What I'm going to cover here is, um, basically, I'm going to talk about what a forward reaction is and what a reverse reaction is. And then I want to kind of go over what are the expected reactions with certain blood group types. And then in the next lecture, I want to go through the discrepancies and talk about how to resolve them. So first off, let's talk about some terminology. So what is a forward type? Well, a forward type is when you take a patient's red blood cells, right? You take a patient's red blood cells, and at this point, you don't know what the type is. That's basically what you're doing. You're doing a blood type on a patient because you don't know what it is. So that's the unknown. So patient cells are the unknown. And then you take reagent antisera, and that is going to be the unknown. So what are examples of antisera? So you have anti-A and anti-B. And there's others. There's anti-D, and there's other special ones that we'll go into later. But for now, let's just keep it simple with anti-A and anti-B. So you're going to run into problems that you got to solve. And this is going to be at your actual work and for school. But generally, they'll draw the diagram like this. So the beginning will be the forward type. It'll be like A, B, D for RH, but we're going to ignore that for now. We'll go into RH separately. So this will be your forward type, and then you'll have A1, B. And we're just going to draw it out like this. And we're going to put an F here for forward and R here for reverse. But before I get ahead of myself, I meant to talk about what a reverse is. So reverse is the opposite of forward. So with reverse, what you do is you take the patient's serum, and that's the unknown, and then you mix it with reagent cells. There are A1 and B cells. These are reagent, meaning you know what they are. They're controlled, basically. These are reagent cells that you buy. And it comes in a little glass vial labeled A1 and a separate vial labeled B. So you know what these are. You don't know what's in the patient's serum. Alright, so back to this. So it'll be basically labeled like this with the forward type and the reverse. So let me duplicate this real quick. So I'll keep redrawing it. Let's say that you get a 4+ reaction here, a 0 here. So 4+ means you saw agglutination here. Okay. What would you expect the reverse to be? Well, let's break it down. So 4+, like I said, means we saw agglutination. So what did we do in the front type? We took the patient's cells and we mixed them with reagent antisera that we know. Right, so A here means that this is anti-A. This is anti-A antisera. Right, so we put the patient's cells in anti-A and we saw agglutination. So what does anti-A react with? It reacts with A antigen. So that would lead us to believe that the patient has A-type cells. And then over here in B, we see 0, we see no reaction. So we should be thinking the patient does not have B antigen on their cells. So with that in mind, what should we expect in the reverse? Should we expect 4+ here in A1? No, we should not. The reason being, if it's true that the patient has A antigen on their cells, they shouldn't be making anti-A, right? Because that would mean they're making an antibody against their own antigen. They're not going to do that. So we would expect no reaction here, but what about B? Would we expect their serum to have B in it? We would. If they're a type A cell, we would expect anti-B to be in their serum. And so in the reverse, we have control B cells with B antigen on them. So we would expect the anti-B in the A person's serum to react with this. So we should have B4+ over here. Now, let's say we have this reaction. What should we expect here? So this would lead us to believe the patient has B cells. So what should the reverse look like? Should we expect reaction with A? Yes. Why is that? If they have B cells, we expect them to have anti-A in their serum. The anti-A should react with A cells. And so if they're B, they're not going to make an antibody against an antigen they have, so we would expect this to be 0. Alright, so what if we see this? What are we expecting? Well, this would lead us to believe they have neither A nor B on antigen on their cells. And what cell would be representative of that? O cells. So if they're O cells, what antibodies should they have? Both A and B, which should react with both our control A and B cells. What if we see these reactions? 4+, 4+. Well, now we're thinking they have A antigen and B antigen at the same time. What cell type has that? AB. So, would we expect them to have anti-A and anti-B in their serum? No. This is what we should see. 0, 0. So guys, these are all basically the expected reactions for just ABO. As I said in the next lecture, we will talk about discrepancies and unexpected reactions, and then we'll also talk about how to solve those.